we are going to talk about birds and feathers and stuff. Birds, I know, what a topic. Each of you should have a little duck. You have a little duck? You do? Yeah, everybody got a duck? Okay. All right, so do we have any Jeep owners in the house? Jerry, you have a Jeep. Have you ever noticed Jeeps with ducks on the dashboard? You have a bunch? Do you really? I did not know this was a thing. The first time I saw a Jeep with ducks on the dashboard, I'm thinking that just must be a teenager that graduated from high school. This is their first vehicle. That's what I thought. And one of the girls at the office, she actually drives a Jeep, and I walked into the office one day and she had a duck like this sitting on her desk. I said, "Where'd that come from? What's that? Where'd that come from?" And she said, "It was on my door handle of my Jeep." And she just went on about her business like that was a normal thing. I was like, why? She said, "Well, I don't know exactly when it occurred, but sometime around COVID, that Jeep owners decided to give a little joy to each other, and they would surprise you with a duck either on your windshield or on your car door, just so you can have some joy." Is that right? Yeah. So it's called ducking. Yeah. It's a real thing. And I have seen multiple Jeeps with these, and now I know. I am in on the secret. So I have given each one of you little duck today, and they're little patriotic ducks in light of our 250th America birthday. So I'm going to start with a story, and then we'll get into the sermon. So we're going to talk about birds. Harvey Mackay, and by the way, I did not develop this sermon. Joyce Meyer years ago put most of this material together. I've tweaked it and modified some things, but the birds that we're going to talk about are mostly her contribution, so I want to make sure that I give her credit. But Harvey Mackay was waiting in line for a taxi at the airport. Anybody ever drove a taxi? Have you ridden in a taxi? Yeah, okay. When a cab pulled up, the first thing Harvey noticed was that the taxi was polished to a bright shine. Smartly dressed in a white shirt, black tie, and freshly pressed slacks, Wally, the cab driver, jumped out and rounded the car to open the back door. Harvey noticed that the inside of the cab matched the outside, spotlessly clean. As Wally slid behind the wheel, he said, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" Harvey said, "No, I'd prefer a soft drink." Wally smiled and said, "No problem. I have a cooler up front with regular and Diet Coke, water, and orange juice." Almost stuttering, Harvey said, "I'll take a Diet Coke." Handing Harvey his drink, Wally said, "If you'd like something to read, I have the Wall Street Journal, Time, Sports Illustrated, and USA Today." As the taxi pulled away from the curb, Wally handed Harvey a laminated card and said, "These are the stations I get and the music they play, if you'd like to listen to the radio." As if that weren't enough, Wally told Harvey the air conditioning was on and asked if the temperature was comfortable. The driver then advised Harvey on the best route to his destination for that time of day. Wally also let Harvey know that he'd be happy to chat and tell him about some of the sights, or if Harvey preferred, to leave him with his own thoughts. "Tell me, Wally," the amazed passenger asked, "have you always served your customers like this?" Wally smiled and looked in the rearview mirror. "No, not always. In fact, it's only been during the last 2 years. My first 5 years driving, I spent most of my time complaining like all of the rest of the cabbies do. Then I heard Wayne Dyer on the radio saying that if you get up in the morning expecting to have a bad day, you'll rarely disappoint yourself. He said, "Stop complaining. Distinguish yourself from your competition. Don't be a duck. Be an eagle. Ducks quack and complain. Eagles soar above the crowd." So I decided to change my attitude and become an eagle. I looked at the other cabs and their drivers. The cabs were dirty, the drivers unfriendly, and the customers were unhappy. So I decided to make some changes. I put in a few changes at a time, and when my customers responded well, I did more. "I take it that has paid off for you," Harvey said. "It sure has," Wally replied. "My first year as an eagle, I doubled my income from the previous year. This year, I'll probably quadruple it." Wally, the cab driver, made a different choice. He decided to stop quacking like a duck and start soaring like an eagle. Whew. And I have sandals on, stepping all over my toes this morning. Isaiah 40:31 says this, very familiar. "But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Those who wait upon the Lord will get fresh strength, new strength, and they will spread their wings and soar like eagles. Have you ever seen an eagle soar? Isn't it majestic? You know, they're so beautiful anyway, but they're huge, and the way that they just soar through the sky, that's what I want to do in my life. And now I'm going to share a little story. It's very brief, about a farmer who found an eagle egg. And so he took this eagle's egg and he placed it in his hen's nest. And so the eagle was raised like a chicken. Try as he wanted, he always had trouble trying to be a chicken. His heart kept telling him that something was not right. Much of the time he was lonely because he did not fit in. One time he tried to take off by flapping his wings, and the farmer caught him and clipped his wings. This eagle kept looking up at the sky and felt that he should be up there. One day when a storm came, all the chickens were afraid and they ran for cover. The little eagle was not afraid, and he faced the storm. Time had passed since the farmer had clipped his wings, and so they were able to now be used. The eagle flapped his wings, and he was able to take off. He heard the cry of another eagle up in the sky, to which he flew toward. He was out of that chicken yard forever. This story tells us that we can break away from anything that is holding us back from being what God intended us to be. So often we are satisfied with just the status quo, with just going through the motions. God has a purpose for us, each one of us. He doesn't want us to stay in the barnyard. He wants us to spread our wings and to fly. Sometimes we're going to have to leave things and people behind. Sometimes the work's going to be hard and we'll have to take a risk. Sometimes we'll even be lonely. We might be misunderstood or criticized for enjoying the fullness that God is in our lives. But as an eagle is uncomfortable in a chicken yard, so you will be uncomfortable as a Christian in the world. Your hunger to be more than what you are right now is a God-given hunger. There are all kinds of possibilities. And let's be honest, sometimes he has just got to drag us because we like the comfort of where we are and knowing what's expected of us. An eagle is known for its strength and its perseverance and its determination. It never gives up when it sees something that it wants to have lunch on. It goes and gets us. A chicken and an eagle are both birds, but they are very, very different. So I'm going to go through a list of birds and give you these definitions, and listen closely and see if you can find yourself in any of these birds. Now, you probably won't want to raise your hand. Just keep it to yourself. But you might find a few characteristics of each of these little birds, or big birds, in yourself in your Christian walk. The first one we want to look at, of course, is the chicken. And the chicken is a person who is afraid of life and lives in fear. They become lazy and they don't want to reach out or change to do life differently. Their lives consists of walking around the same old yard, clucking, and scratching. They look at the ground. They rarely look up. They are content to be where they are. They flap their wings, but they don't fly. They like being kept in a fence or a secured area. It makes them feel comfortable. And when a storm rises, they run for cover. Now, this is like a Christian who has difficulties and doesn't look up for a solution. They're just constantly reinforcing the problem by keeping their heads down and reviewing the process over and over again. They just don't know how to solve the problems that they're facing, and the tendency is to run to a place of security and hide. One of my old pastors used to tell me that I like to put my head in the sand. Well, I like to think of it, God working it out, given time to God to work it out. But he said I would avoid conflict and I would often put my head in the sand. I probably did. Jesus said, "Be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world." This is in Romans 8:37. In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Proverbs 15:30 says, nothing, never mind. I didn't give that one to you. We're going to skip over that one. So the next bird is a magpie. Who knows anything about a magpie? I didn't have a clue. I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them. They're bullies. They're mean birds. They don't know how to be nice. They're rude and pushy. They spend their life tormenting others. They are selfish, arrogant, and self-centered. So this type of Christian would drive other people away from living a godly life. So they would be stirring the pot, this Christian. This Christian would always be trying to trip you up. If they knew you had a problem with pornography, they'd be slipping it to you so that they could get you off track. Proverbs 13:6 says, righteousness guards him whose way is blameless, but sin overthrows the wicked. We don't want to be magpies because they're evil little creatures. The next bird is a kookaburra. He is a bird that wants to party all the time. You know, somebody who wants to party all the time? Fun, fun, fun. Life to them is just one big party. Well, the Christian who has the same kind of attitude in excess would be someone who doesn't take Jesus very seriously. That they don't really grasp the sacrificial part that Jesus, what he did for us. They want to laugh, but they don't want to have any discipline in their life. They know who Jesus is, but they don't have a real relationship with them because there's no discipline. And then we have the vultures. Whew, we know about vultures, right? They make life hard for everyone. These birds are attracted to garbage and dead things. They seem to be drawn to the dirtiness, the stinky stuff, right? They enjoy the filth of life. Anything that's rotting, corrupt, or stinks attracts them. And this type of Christian is glad when other people fall, and they enjoy when you're miserable, right? When you're miserable, it makes them happy. That's a vulture. They take advantage of your situation. Proverbs 13:2 tells us, "From the fruit of his mouth a man eats what is good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence." Proverbs is full of so many statements and ideas for us to follow to avoid falling into the pit. A cuckoo is a bird that does not like to work. The word I would use for this bird is lazy. They like to sponge off of others. I didn't know this. They don't even build their own nests. They plant their eggs in nests of another bird. And guess what? They don't hatch their own eggs either. They let the other bird do it. Now, isn't that just about lazy? Yeah, and this kind of Christian takes handouts from others, always willing to take, but never willing to give. And then we have the little canary, that little bird in the cage that so many of us have had a pet a time or two. They're content being in that cage and don't know the freedom that is right outside of that container. But guess what? They are the best singers. Canaries are the best singing bird. But that's the extent of it. They're just content. A Christian who would be like a canary would remain content, going through the motions, just, I'm fine, not willing to grow and to challenge yourself or to spiritually mature, like, I'm okay sitting here once a week. This is my worship. I don't want to go out there. Our Wesley tradition tells us that we need to go where the people are. So maybe we need to look at things a little differently. If there are people at the ball field, maybe we should think about going to the ball field. Or maybe we can give water out to them or something, or a little snack. Maybe the people are at a concert. Maybe we should think about going to a concert. We need to look at things differently and not get caught up in tradition and comfort, right? And then finally, the crow. The crow lives, he takes, right? He is self-centered. He is dirty, he's noisy, and he eats what doesn't belong to him, right? And a Christian would also take from other people, and they don't want to see someone else do well. And these crows are the ones who pesters the eagles. Did you know that? Yeah. Proverbs 15:14 says, the heart of him who has an understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouths of fools feed on folly. So a wise person is hungry for truth, while the fools feed on trash, and that's those crows. So today, I challenge you to be an eagle Christian. And we have to, leave the life of those other birds that we mentioned today. We want to be bold, strong, courageous, and we want to have a good attitude, and we want to be committed and devoted like an eagle is. And when we face the storms of life that the world is going to send our way, let us embrace the storm and use the storm to go under our wings so that we can rise above it. Let us fly up to Jesus and be grounded in the truth that he has given to us. As a man thinks in his heart, so he is. Do you think of yourself as a duck today, or one of those other birds that were always quacking, complaining? Or are we ready and willing to change it up a little bit? I'm going to be an eagle for the next 4 weeks anyway, while I finish my school, and hopefully I'll develop some habits that will stick with me for the rest of the year. But yes, I am going to change my attitude, and I invite you to do the same, to be an eagle. So the next time you look at the duck, I want you to think, quack, 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 complain, quack, complain, quack, complain. I want you to think of an eagle and to be positive and to soar with Jesus. Amen.